What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Pancis. If you haven't subscribed yet, please be sure to smash that subscribe button. If not, thanks for your continued support. You guys can also follow me at Pancis on Instagram if you guys want to talk about your car projects, have any questions, or just want to chat with me. Happy to always be a part of whatever advice you may need or there to help. So today is 6 months, roughly 6 months, since we purchased my 2000 Porsche 911 996 generation. This car has actually really changed my entire perspective, not only on cars, engineering, but also driving. So in today's video, I want to give you guys a 6-month ownership review and discuss what this car has brought to the channel and, of course, my passion for cars, and share that with you. So as you guys can see clearly, it is winter time, so therefore the car is a little bit buried. So let me pull that thing out and we'll hop on inside. I'm not going to drive it today, but not going to drive it today based on the weather out here and the salt on the roads, but I will show some driving clips of the last 6 months for you guys to see. And if you haven't been able to check out those videos, I'll make sure to link up above the playlist and some of those racing videos that are also really fun to watch. So stay tuned. Thanks, guys. And before we get into the review, if you guys haven't watched the video of me waterproofing this convertible top, since it just snowed, you guys can see everything is really dry inside the car, and it appears to have worked. So I'll link that video above as well if you guys want to check it out. Let's get into this. All right, so since this car is so freaking good looking, we're gonna just take a quick walk around on the outside. It's probably one of my favorite looking Porsches out there. I know a lot of people say a lot of different things. These headlights are controversial, but they're really not all that bad. I mean, this car is just so gorgeous, and the paint on this car is just in such immaculate shape, as you guys can see. But that's my favorite view of the car right there, and it's just really all around a great car. Super well balanced and super good looking. So let's just hop in it, we'll talk about it. And this is the interior of my car. If you haven't seen my Porsche yet from previous videos, we have the tan interior, all leather. The inside could use some rehab work. I know this is like a common thing on this generation, some of the scratches on the center console here. So maybe one of these days we'll actually pull this off, completely strip it, and go from there. So I have a little bit of a list. I usually don't do this. I usually just do straight improv. I guess we'll have some sort of improv on this, but here's my little list for you guys. We're gonna go through the comfort, we'll go through maintenance, and of course the performance and driving experience we'll save for later. But so start off with comfort. As you guys can see in here, it is super pleasant to be in here, and the seats are really comfortable. Obviously we have the stock OEM leather seats in here. I know a lot of people, you know, take those out and do all sorts of different aftermarket seats and lighter seats, since these seats are actually really heavy. So a huge weight savings is to actually replace these seats. However, we're not doing that on this car. We're keeping it OEM, we're keeping it awesome, and keeping it just as nice as it is, regardless of the miles. Speaking of which, we have 84,260 miles on this car currently, and I purchased it 6 months ago with 81,000. So as you guys can see, only 3,000 miles in 6 months. Really not all that bad. So the seats are really comfortable. This car came equipped from the previous owner an Alpine radio which has the Bluetooth radio in there, and of course car phone. So I know the Porsche just launched a brand new Porsche radio for this generation, which brings in all of the Bluetooth, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, all the latest tech that a car can offer you is in that radio. So for 1,500 bucks, maybe I'll go ahead and install it. But for now, we have this radio. Personally speaking, I barely ever listen to the radio in this car. I usually just keep the sound off, and it's really nice to have specifically for cell phone calls. So if I'm driving with the manual transmission, at least I have the Bluetooth to speak on the phone hands-free. So that is pretty sweet. That's it for entertainment. Everything else is just the way it should be. An analog clock with your tach right in the center, with your speed right below it, is very famous for Porsche. It is actually really user friendly. So if you're racing down the track, which if you haven't followed my channel, I've done a couple times now with this car, you know, having the tach right there in front of you allows you to really understand where the car is, and of course the speed right below it. It's just fantastic. Temperature gauge on the upper right. Far right here we have fuel and then oil pressure. As you guys can see, we have a really healthy engine, strong oil pressure, which always remains, and then of course far left here we have the battery and then our speedometer with our mileage tach. So obviously battery wise we're solid there too. So that brings me into long-term drives. The seats are really comfortable. The longest drive I've taken so far with this car, between a rally and distance, because it was like a cruise rally, so it was probably 60 cars deep, a lot of cars, a lot of traffic, if you will, with the driving, with the clutch and slowing down, speeding up, all that good stuff. But 5 hours was the longest trip we've taken in this car at once. And honestly, besides for the traffic of having 60 cars in a pack and driving with the clutch for 5 hours, stop and go, everything was really comfortable. The car was really comfortable. In fact, after 5 hours, minus my leg being a little tired with the clutch, it didn't feel like I was in the car for 5 hours, and I wasn't really tired of driving. That's how nice it is to drive this car. That being said, knowing that the seats are comfortable, the cabin is comfortable, the HVAC system works properly, the air conditioning is super cold, and obviously right now we're in the winter time, so the heat is obviously working no problem. So just super comfortable. I mean, it's unbelievable. This car has a stock suspension. I didn't change it, and I probably won't, because like I said, I want to keep this thing as great as it is from the factory. The suspension in the front, we dialed in the camber for the track, so that's fine. It's like a nice hybrid tune on the suspension for track use and of course driving on the highway and around the road. It's just all around comfortable. The ride isn't too stiff for being a sports car. It's got a little bit of plushness to it that allows you to know that you're still in a sports car, but it's also not uncomfortable at all. So that goes for that. So long drives, no problem. Short drives are always too short, and that's the general feel of driving this car after 6 months. So going into maintenance, now that we've driven the car for 6 months, so far I have done absolutely no maintenance. The only thing I've done, which was elective, was changing the rear brake pads, and that was because we had a brake light on, a brake wear light, and I think it was just because one of the pieces of the pad got a little bit torn up on the track and it caused the brake wear light. But as you guys can see, besides for the park light, this light turns off once you start driving, and of course my seatbelt there, all those annunciators are off. So up in the next month or so, before we bring this thing back to the track at the end of March, season opener, I will execute an oil change, and I will inspect the oil filter for metal shavings and just give everything an overall inspection. But the previous owner did a lot of work to this car. They had just done pulleys and the belt, and he had done the water pump and all sorts of other maintenance things that kind of came up over the last couple years prior to me owning the car. So luckily for me, I haven't had to do too much with maintenance. So far, very, very nice on the wallet with maintenance. I'm sure something could happen. Hopefully I'm not jinxing it right now. We're bringing it to the shop. Parts are cheap, but labor can be expensive on these cars. I am sure of it. So that's that for maintenance. So far, so good. So last up is, we kind of touched on the driving experience, but performance. I mean, this car is the last of the Mohegans, if you will, when it comes to driving a car without an intrusive traction control system, ABS system, and all of these electronic sensors that cars come with today. This car has none of that. I think it just has ABS, honestly. I've never, I think I felt ABS maybe once or twice on the track hitting the brakes really hard, but other than that, there is no traction control, there is no stability control, and personally speaking, that for me is ideal for learning how to drive a car on the track, because it really allows you to connect with the car and the road and really truly know how to handle certain situations that may arise. And of course, if you guys check out this clip right here, we've definitely experienced some situations on the track. that have been eye-opening for myself, and of course really awesome and humbling to learn how the car responds to situations. And that being said, driving on a track, if you ever track a car, is much different than driving a car on the road. And of course, that being said, your responses that are trained for driving on the road are the opposite on the track. I mean, if you spin out, you want to go off the road. That's how they teach you on the track, because if there's a car doing 100 miles an hour behind you and you spin out, you want to get out of the way. Otherwise, there's more damage to the car that will be had. So that was a 6-month eye-opener for myself driving this car. Performance, this car, these cars hug the road. I mean, the Cayman, Porsche is like really known for their engineering with suspension and handling and weight distribution, and this car obviously having the engine in the rear behind most of the rear axle is where most of the weight is, allows you the ultimate stability on the track. And if you're taking a turn on a track, for instance, or even on the road, actually downshifting allows you to have rear traction on the wheels to turn better. So really, you know, I like to say 60-40 split on traction for turning. You actually use your traction in the rear probably about 40% in a hard turn if you're really taking a turn really hard. I mean, it's really something I never really witnessed or experienced until you actually got on a track and handled it. So this car really taught me that in the last 6 months. Now, I don't really drive like that on the road. In fact, I try not to drive like that at all on the road, because obviously there's other cars and it's a little bit more dangerous when you're doing those types of maneuvers on a public road. So I definitely do not do that, but allows me though to have the cognitive thinking on the road of how to handle the car and how the car handles and responds to inputs, especially downshifting in a turn or before a turn. So that was just really an amazing experience. The steering, the rear steering, and the traction is just something this car taught me over the last 6 months, and I figured I'd share that with you guys. And I think that hits everything. I mean, performance-wise, these cars are really known for driving and having technicals more than it is power. This car, for instance, only has like 300 horsepower, so it's not that fast. My daily driver, which is a 2017 Jaguar supercharged engine, has a lot more power than this. But you know, these cars are really for technical. So if you're really geared for technical, then I would say go ahead and add a car with more power, you know, aka getting a turbo model. But if you're just grabbing a car to drive, have decent power, but really just enjoy the drive and have the handling characteristics, I think the naturally aspirated car that we're sitting in right now, the Carrera, is definitely ideal, and I really strongly recommend it. So those are my thoughts on this car. This is my 6-month review and update for you guys on it. It's been an eye-opening experience, a life-changing experience for my passion for cars and engineering and driving, and really, really blessed and happy that I did purchase this car, because obviously, you know, there's only so many times in your life that you can do stuff that's really an eye-opening experience. And for me, being 30 years old, owning a Porsche was really not a lifelong goal, but obviously a really cool achievement, and I'm really excited to have it and excited to share the experience with you guys. So I hope you enjoyed the 6-month ownership update for you on my Porsche 911 996. It is in fact my favorite car ever so far, besides for Saabs. You know I like my Saabs and I like my Jag, but it's totally different than those cars. So you can't really compare apples to apples. If you're a car guy, you're a car guy because you love the cars for the things that they offer you, and obviously all of those cars and this car all offer different experiences as a car enthusiast. So that's my update for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Please be sure to smash the subscribe button if you haven't already, and of course, as always, follow me at Pancis. Drop a like and a comment below, and I will see you guys next video. Thank you.